Board of Oswego Authority. This is Monday, September 19th, 2022 at approximately 4:35. And we have a call to order. Let's go around the table and introduce everybody. Starting with Bill.
Bill Schreiber, Director.
Stan Delia, Board Member.
I was up for 2 seconds. Diane Zeller, Board Member.
Bunch of Gate, Board Member.
Kitty Macy, Board Member.
John Smith, Board Member.
Connie Casamento, Board Member.
Fran Enright, Board Member. Also present in the bachelor room, Pat.
Pat McMahon, Court Employee.
Kelly.
Kelly Reader.
And Micah, you can speak up.
And Micah Ordway, Skate Holstein, counsel to the court.
All right, thank you, everybody. Right now, we're going to have a presentation
Help
by
yourself.
Tetra Tech and Carl Road. And this is going to be for discussion with Port Council. So, hi, Carl.
How you doing, Fran? I don't really have a lot to report on. It's really up to Bryn to give you the update today. Bryn is from Tetra Tech, and she is leading the visualization analysis for the seeker for the dome core structure.
Recording in progress.
I've asked her to provide a brief update on her progress to date, which I know she's made quite a bit of. And then also to allow you guys a few minutes to ask questions of her on seeing what her progress report is. So, Bryn, it's all yours.
Sure thing. Thanks, Carl. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
I assume everybody can hear me all right, so I'm just going to dive right in. As Carl mentioned, we've been underway for several weeks now. The bulk of our efforts thus far have been our resource inventory assessment, and we've conducted the viewshed analysis. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and have some visuals here. Bear with me for a moment. Let me clear out. There we go. So I hope that you can see a map view of the project area. So this is our resource inventory map. And so essentially, the big picture of our analysis is identifying sensitive, protected, scenic resources, or resources that visitors would have some expectation of a certain level of visual quality. So obviously we have the fort, and there's some parks and public open spaces close to the project. We also identified that Highway 104 is a designated state scenic byway, so we want to make sure and capture all of these resources when we go out and conduct our field work, and that's primarily photography from these designated resources, so that we have kind of a broad set of resources and comprehensive in nature for selection of our visualizations, so the WIC project conditions that we can compare to the existing conditions. So as I say, this is our resources map. So I don't think it would be surprising that the vast majority of the resources that we found are historic in nature. And then obviously we have a handful of public open spaces, parks, linear parks, adjacent to the river, that sort of thing. So, are there any questions on that step before I move on? Otherwise, I'll keep going.
None. Anybody else? We're good.
Wonderful, okay. So the second step after the resource inventory is to conduct our viewshed analysis. So this analysis compares the location and dimensions of the proposed dome facility, storage facility, with a digital model of the infrastructure and surface, including topography of the full study area. For this project, we went out 1 mile from the project area. And so the kind of purple-blue color overlay that you see on the screen is indicative of places in the landscape where we predict that the project could be visible. And so from this, when we compare it with the inventory, then we can really start concentrating our efforts for field work into places in the landscape where we predict there could be views of the project when it's completed. So with that, I'm going to bring up one more map, and this is where I would love some input, questions, etc. So we are preparing to conduct our field work in the next couple of weeks. And so this is the preliminary map using the inputs that I shared just now of places where we intend to conduct photography from in order to prepare the simulations. And so all of the blue dots on the screen won't be carried forward for simulations, but from these locations where we photograph, a number of those, I think we're at 4 or 5 of those locations will be prepared as visual simulations to compare with existing conditions, if that makes sense. So, as you might imagine, we've got several locations within the fort that we want to photograph. One different compared to the previous work, we do plan to try to visit the lighthouse and photograph looking back toward the city to capture how that view may be changed, if at all. And then obviously everything, or most of the views, I'll say, are concentrated close to the river. Obviously we needed to capture Highway 104, Bridge Street as that scenic byway. But then also, you know, along the lakefront, at the park, and trying to capture some of these residential areas as well to get some of these representative and typical views looking to the east toward the project area. So, as I say, this is a preliminary map of locations, but if there are places that we should think about adding, that would be great feedback today.
Anybody have any additional areas, markers they think would be important?
So that does include the infamous spot in front of this weekend's company, right?
East First and
Yeah, so that particular place, has-
Utica. East First and Utica.
there's lots of spots along East First Street where you wouldn't be able to see the White House at all, even with no dome. But that one spot.
East First.
We should do a projection of what it's gonna look like when that tree is full grown.
All the trees. And they've got East First and Bridge.
Yeah, East Person Bridge. Utica Street Bridge.
I'm just gonna keep getting on your way.
Oh, no, you're on my way.
They got all along the river walk. Unless you go up at, like East 7th Street on top of the hill, up there in the back, down, I don't think there's a view up there. It's the highest point of the city over there.
Could you zoom in on East First Street, path? Can you bring it down a little bit, please? Or go to the north, I should say. Okay. Yeah.
Yes, there's a marker right there.
There isn't a marker. I think, Dr. DeGay, you wanted one, like.
Yeah, that's
right-
been the focal point of the whole controversy.
Yeah,
If there's only one spot, we should be looking at that.
Right here.
right there is where you would want one.
Is that, no, it's back.
No, it's between the two.
Between the two, about
Right
halfway,
here?
right in there,
Between the two bridges. It's right before the railway tunnel.
Where that big building is?
It's near,
I think you need to, I think you need,
into it,
Right down the drive.
you need to go down a little bit.
go south.
Yeah. About halfway between Bridge and Utica Streets.
Right about.
On East First or? along the
East
river?
first, yeah,
yeah.
it's right there.
It's right in there. There's a railroad tunnel.
Yeah, right before that. I mean, right, just
right
south
before
of that, yeah.
Come back about 2 inches, right in there.
There you go.
Yeah, that's close enough.
Is he-
I think it's a bit, if we're talking about the tea company, it's a little bit south of that.
Is it further south?
Yeah, a little further
No,
south.
maybe a quarter of an inch.
Yeah, and if you're walking
See where
through
that dark building is?
the railroad tunnel,
Is it
and you
it's
keep
before the
going,
railroad tunnel? Yeah, okay.
it will be just north.
That big
Yeah,
building
come back
right there.
a couple more inches, south.
Oh, the big building is
Right
the
there.
old armory building where the tea company is. Yeah, right there.
Right there.
Though, on the other side
On
of
the other
road.
side of the street.
Yeah,
On the east side.
There you go.
there we go.
There you
Exactly.
Drop it.
But on the street.
On the street.
On the street. This is,
There you go.
Okay. Northbound, got it.
We gotta name that actually.
Right?
oh yeah. I mean, you can see it now.
Maybe
It's
after
just what's,
carpooling.
it's engulfed by the, or enclosed by the,
So, Bryn, this is Mike Ordway from Biscay Holstein.
let's go with that.
One of the board members mentioned some imagery with trees blocking the view. Maybe we could have a little discussion about that, because I'm not exactly sure where those trees would be, but I think it's a valid point. Over time, the city planted some trees along the sight lines, correct?
Yes, we did.
And over time, those trees, depending on the species, will grow and also have an impact on the view. And I'll leave it to you, Bryn and Carl, whether that's important, but I wanted to mention it just to make sure you understand that there were some trees planted recently along one of the sight lines.
Right in there.
Is that Bridge?
No, it's not
No,
Bridge.
it's further north, it's
Further
further
north.
north.
You gotta go all the
That's
way
true. What kind of
north,
trees
east,
are they?
east.
It's possible they have
Keep
trees
going.
grow at the top.
It's north of 104.
There's a blue dot
The
that's
blue dot
right
area.
on the intersection. And that's where they planted it. So if you go further north,
Crossover 104.
The blue dot.
okay, and that whole strip just north of 104 is where they planted trees.
You can't see it on your imagery, but the new construction and what they did is there now.
Right, so Carl was kind enough to share some current images of those from street view. So we have some context, and then of course, when our photographer collects the existing photography, those trees will be included. And so that would be something we look at when we prepare the simulation, is that, you know, obviously the trees will grow over time and start to affect the view along that corridor to the north. And so I think that's something we can represent in the visual simulations.
The trees are gonna grow pretty quick.
Which is how tall it is.
About 104.
I don't know what the species is. Does anybody know what it is?
Yeah, I mean, the mayor had the trees that were on West First Street, cut down and replaced with ones that were smaller and all the same species. I don't know if these,
I don't know if those are the same species.
yeah, I don't know if they are.
It doesn't matter.
But those are short trees that he wanted along West First Street.
But there's still an island in the middle of the road and a tree in the middle of the island.
That's
and
right.
Front of the home in the bottom of the sea.
That's right.
You can't see through a tree.
It depends how tall it is. I mean, it's all just a matter of like where your vantage point is. Between the two bridges, there's places where you can see the lighthouse, and places where you can't. front of my house,
What street do you live on?
East Third Street.
Okay, do you have anything more as far as your update goes? I mean, when do you anticipate it will be completed? We don't need exact dates, kind of an idea would be a good idea.
Yeah, so at this point, we're doing our preparations for the field work, and then we'll bring the results of that back into the office and continue with the preparation for selection and then preparation of the visual simulations. And so our goal at this point is to have the prepared report by early November.
Is there anything we can help you with outside of what Carl's doing? I mean, I think you've got a lot of those areas covered. But is there anything when you hear, do you need, I mean, maybe a board member can go with you, kind of volunteer?
Bill, I know the one thing, Brent's team will need when they're, doing photos will be a ride out to the lighthouse. So if we could arrange that with Steve to take her out there, or take her team out there for the photos.
How about a drone? Would a drone work?
I think they're looking more like straight on
Yeah, visualization.
visuals from like eyeball level with a camera
When do they close
versus
the lighthouse?
overhead of the drone.
Pat, keep the tugboat out until then.
If not, I'll get one of the fishing captains to do it.
Okay.
Well, my thought is there anything that would help that we might, instead of being November, we could do like end of October-ish, somewhere in that line. I'm just looking at weather-wise and what that's gonna enable us to do. If there's something that would help you as far as getting this process going, I'm not sure how much wiggle room you put into that number.
Yeah, it's certainly a balance with this and you know, getting the simulations prepared is the second bulk of the effort. The first one being the inventory and point identification. But once we're off and running with the simulations, then I can probably dial that in a little bit more. But I think by the end of October probably is reasonable given where we're at right now. I think the 3D modeling of the facility is already underway and nearly complete. So as long as we can get the field work wrapped up in the next couple of weeks. One thing maybe I can touch base with folks on this call would be is just getting input and feedback on the selections of the actual locations that we do carry forward for the simulations. It sounds like there's certainly, you know, some interest in this location that we talked about on East First. But, you know, taking these 20 locations and whittling them down to about 4 for simulations will be the next task after the field work is complete. So if that's a good place for you to have input, that would be helpful to us. So if we want to shoot for the end of October, I think that's probably doable from my perspective for our team.
The other question I have is, when you're complete, what's our next step? Is that all we need to,
That we can discuss with the attorney. What we're
all right, that's what we're gonna
procedures.
discuss, all right.
That's what Mike is here for.
Okay.
Okay, I have a
Is
question.
Carl gonna be here for the executive session?
No, he's not.
No. I'll explain that, why not, when we get into the executive
Okay.
session.
Thank you.
Sorry, Carl.
Okay.
No, that's fine. Only a phone call away if a question comes up.
Carl has a life and a family, so we don't wanna keep him any longer than we have to.
Micah doesn't.
All right, is that it?
I have a question. This environmental impact study that's being done on, the A-frame dome there, is that comparing the impact of the A-frame building to nothing being there, or to the originally approved, smaller dome that was gonna go there?
We're supposed to be looking at, obviously, nothing to the A-frame. And then also, I think we're gonna take a quick look at the circular dome versus, the A-frame structure. Brendan, correct me if I'm wrong on that, I think that's what we had. I was looking at, we're really focusing on the structure in hand. Ultimately, at this point, this was there, that's what needs to be approved.
That's correct, yeah, thus far, it's been an analysis comparing, no structure versus the A-frame structure, square structure.
Okay, it's important because we've been talking as a board about how the original dome, those smaller, would have completely blocked the view of the lighthouse as well.
Yeah.
So compared to nothing, yes, it obviously blocks the view of the lighthouse. Compared to what we were going to put in if we had an affordable bid, it's really about the same as far as that's concerned.
Plus, it's interesting to note that the city had no issue with the dome, the original dome. But I don't know if that makes any difference.
Yeah, I mean, they could say they would have if they thought about it. Now they don't.
Well, it wasn't in their face. I'm sorry. That's in their face.
Anybody else have any questions? Nope.
No, this is for the board, I mean.
Okay, so I guess we're good.
Okay, what I'll do is, thank you, for, attending. I'm gonna close it off right now. If you got anything further to add, going once, going twice, going 3 times.
All right, thank you.
Thank you much.
All right,
Have a good night
That's all.
now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a
Bye.
good day.
All right.
Are we going to get a list of those sites that they were looking at?
A list of all those
All the
sites?
lots,
I mean, I guess
all the
we could ask for them and they can give us.
Well, if you'd like, when they come and do the visualizations, yes, I'll ask them for the sites. But they're not gonna use, as you know, they're not gonna use all those sites.
Right, because she's asking us to whittle them down.
But I think that would be important for you to have a list and make sure you have input on what sites you really wanna have. So,
Well, and it's also a good thing just to go and visit those sites, so if anybody says anything to you, they're not catching you off guard, you know what they're seeing. Not that anybody would make a big deal out of nothing.
Okay, I'd like to move on to go into executive session. We got Micah here. And he's going to, anyhow.
I move it, go into executive session.
Motion 09192201 to move to executive session.
For privileged communication with the attorney.
All right, Connie made the motion. We need a second.
Second.
John, second. All right, we're in executive session.
And it's really nice to have our rail spur really being utilized with full potential. As you see, July we had 38, we jumped up to 105 in August, and we're doing a lot of rail cars right now. Hopefully we'll close out around 100 this month also. Project updates, Global Dry Dock Marina. We have a WMBE waiver. We're waiting for the chamber to authorize that so that the construction can start. A lot can be done between now and fall and next spring. I have been in contact with the governor's office, they're pushing it. But again, this is what happens when you ask for something out of the ordinary and you can't find WMBE. It takes a while to get the chamber to authorize it. It goes through different channels to get an okay. East dock improvements, it started. We had a couple issues. Number one, the sheets that were ordered, the steel sheet piling that is going to be protecting it from the water is too short. I had to do a change order, authorize a change order, and they're reordering them now. They'll be back, Pat, yes, next week, to start over again. Wind turbine projects, last barge was Friday and Saturday. We had a total of 15 tower sections on the barge. That's a total of 90 we've done. I had a conversation on Saturday with the representative from Logistic. He's very, very happy with the port and its labor. He basically said we were a lot more efficient than the other port that was loading them. He's happy with the workforce's, quite frankly, quickness and safety, and he did compliment the reload crew on actually coming up with improvements as they went along to make the process better and faster. So I've been invited to the GE soiree in Houston. Hopefully we can close a deal for next year too. If, with all the regulations and what they have to deal with, they can get this thing started next year. So again, like anything else, this takes 1 to 2 years, but hopefully now they've been here, they like us, they've seen we can do the job, they're very positive. In fact, he left with the thing, his report to GE is going to be all, well, positive. He was very impressed. Milwaukee, actually, when I went to Milwaukee, I now am in discussions with, I can't discuss it too openly, but I'm in discussions with a line on a Jones Act container company. I know I've been in discussions with another company. They have not got a ship in the lake. This company has 2 ships in the lake they could utilize. Right now, I gave them my information and cost projections. They're putting together cost projections. Within the next month, we're going to approach the big aluminum company with a proposal to do a ferry service of product. And I was very impressed with this guy because they are the biggest American ship company in the lakes. And they have the money. So that was great discussion I had with them. I'll say no more, probably Fran's going to want to bring up this Army Engineers 07. We signed it, they came, we got good positive press. Break Bulk Fair, H2O booth, I've been invited, as you know, to be part of the booth, which is going to be this year very important, because what happens is that we've gone out of COVID. This fair will probably going to be one of the biggest fairs they've ever had. I'm at the H2O booth. As I showed you, we got new literature to go down with. I got video I gave all you to go down with. I even got some pens to go down with that aren't here yet, but they will be here. And I'm flying out on Tuesday. I'll be back on late Thursday, back at work on Friday. I've got a list of people I'm going to talk to at the fair. So, sell. I know, Tom, you always said that. So I'm trying to really push the port. Now, we've got such a very busy year, it's very easy to push now because everyone has had a taste of how well we do here. So, new promotional information, you already have handbill and the video. I thought the video was good. I just tweaked the last one, or support Oswego means business about on your business. I have kind of freeze that for a few more seconds at the end. I want to make that impression with people.
So, did you everybody get one
There's that one right there.
of these?
No, you didn't get one of these.
Oh,
I gave you a link to it on
I
Dropbox.
got it.
Yeah, it's 74 megabytes, so it's kind of big. Yeah. So, good news is I'm in the process. Actually, we finished the big grant. I submitted $538,000. The $538,000 is for this. At our new marina, we actually, all these orange docks, we put in a grant to do transient docks there on Orange. As you know, back in 2017, I applied to bid, for a big grant. We were successful and built the gas dock because of it. This will be, we hopefully will be very competitive in creating transient docks. Because we received so much money from the state, because it went up to 2.1, we have more than 100% match on these docks, which makes us very, very competitive. You look at all the other big grants that were given in the previous 2 years, we're right at that sweet spot of more than 100% match. Also, we added in it mooring buoys outside of our harbor. The mooring buoys are there for larger, like say, I don't know, sailboats that could be placed there, and then they would come out from our transient docks out there to get in their larger vessels. So we tried to do a really, how do I put this, inclusive grant that we could really go at the market, not, and I'll say this, not to compete against the city, but to compete in our own area, which is deep water, larger vessels. That's what we want. And we want to bring them in because the city concentrated on city-owned docks, city boats. We're looking at charter boat captains and large transient boats that come in that we can get for 3-4 nights, and we get them to stay in the area.
We don't have, the city does not have any facilities that can house or dock a sailboat with a 6-foot keel. Just doesn't happen. They got too many weeds and too shallow of water. It's impossible to get in there. So in any of the larger boats coming through that draw anything in water, you usually see them up on the wall here in the river. So by doing what we're doing, we got enough draft here, and we got the mooring balls that we can do it, along with the wall that we have over there. So it's definitely a good move on our part to take advantage of that deep water.
So what I've done is I've placed this in a market niche on the lakes because our only other competition with this deeper water is in Rochester. So obviously, if you're coming, going through the lakes, will be the pin drop for you to come in with large sailboats and or larger boats in the market. And that's it. Any questions?
How large a boat would that accommodate?
Well, on the mooring balls, it's a 50-foot radius, so they've got to be 42, 44 or less. Because the mooring ball, when you put a mooring ball in, you got to have a radius of it swinging in a circle. So that's about before you hit the next one if you had two. So that's it. As far as the transient docks, we can go up to 40 feet. So up to 40 feet. That's what we've got. And that'll include, by the way, I didn't say of a water and power. So it will be, if you're coming in from like right now, we get a lot coming out of the canal that goes into the lake, or the lake into the canal. They want someplace to stay the night. Perfect. We can put them right in. They can hook up their TVs and their refrigerators, and they can stay the night and go downtown. It's because it's right on the walkway. Have something to eat, and because most of them have been on a boat for, he'll tell you, a few days, you kind of would like to get off the boat for a while. So, I think it's a good focused area that we could build in.
So no Princess Line cruisers yet?
Not yet.
Well, after the Harbor Evening, we can take Viking cruises depth. And after we build the new museum, we'll have a cruise welcome center. So, yes, keep thinking positive, and it's all planned. It's in the comp plan. It's right there.
Okay.
We're building towards it.
Yeah, I had a feeling, that's why I was like, okay.
You could be one of the first people on it and go up to Duluth.
Now, go to
No, that's the big area, Duluth, Milwaukee.
Well answered.
All right. Moving on. All right. So now we're at the administrative financial reports on item number 7. All right, A, primary, and B, subsidiary.
Yeah, I'll just make a couple of quick comments. Appreciate the inclusion of some graphs. I'm not sure where we went from percentages to dollars in the table, but we'll hone that in a little bit more as we go. You know, again, as I said last month, you know, the financials really reflect the activity that's been going on. Receivables up, cash up, and that amounts to really, when you look at total asset, total current assets of 2.8, 2.9 million, and you compare that to, you know, current liabilities, you really have a very, very strong current asset net position of about 2.4 million. Really, you know, very strong. And, you know, that then rolls over into the income statement. If you go into page 2 of 2 on the income statement, you know, you see the strong revenue, you know, 200 and, I'm sorry, no, let's see. Yeah, well, net ordinary income really 300% above budget. You know, very strong. And if you know, you ignore the other income and expense line items where things get a little funky from grants coming in one year and not the other, you just focus on the ordinary income, you're up, you know, 1.6 million from the prior year, 1.2 million from budget. The marina continues to be running on a profitable basis, higher than last year. You know, when you talk about current assets and current liabilities, you want to make sure that those are both, you know, current in terms of their payment on the liability side, and you know, there are good receivables on the asset side. And so you look at the receivables and the payables and their aging schedules, and both of them show really no significant aging. And so you have a lot of reliability in the payables and the receivables numbers. The financials are in very, very good shape, and really are consistent with the activity that you see visibly, and you know, the story that's told in the administrative report. So based upon that, I'd recommend approval as presented. There's one item on the impress fund that, you know, just struck me as a little odd, and then if Debbie were here, I'd probably ask it, but and it's just glider oil, but it says something about dental and vision in it.
Oh, Jesus.
What is that?
It's just a little confusing.
Someone may have misclassed them, okay, I'll look into that.
I didn't think we could cover the glider oil, dental and vision plan, but that's
I think we do.
on the top, it's page W72, and then it's on page 1 of 2. You know, you gotta really get deep into these
Okay.
impress bills.
Someone misclassed that, I'll have, make sure they unclass that and put it appropriate. Because glider oil, you know, is
Yeah,
basically-
no, there's a bunch of glider oils going all the way through. It says fuel for propane, diesel, but it's under glider, dental and vision.
Okay, well, we don't get vision through glider oil. I do get a little blurry because the bills are rather large.
I thought maybe you got some of the fumes in your eyes.
Yeah, we'll take care of that. Thanks, but as far as the graph goes, it was my, actually Debbie's and my first shot at it. QuickBooks and Quick Corporate has,
You'll get it down.
we were trying to
There's
deal
some
with.
dollars and percentages in the same
Yeah.
chart.
Yeah, so, she's out, today with
Yeah.
COVID, so I mean, we didn't have a chance
No,
to really work at it,
no,
but,
I know you guys will hone it down.
but next month you'll get a more, hopefully even color chart, so.
But I'm very happy for the port and what I see on the thing.
It's a good team, we've all worked really hard, every one of us, including the workers out in the field, to make this happen,
So
so.
with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll move as presented.
We have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, I see none, motion passes. And now we're on to motion 0919-2205, and this is for the subsidiary financial reports on C2.
Yeah, I was capturing both.
Yeah, I figured you were, I just did it this way, just to
Yeah,
clarify.
then I'll move again.
Yeah, and second? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None, motion passes. Okay, chairman's report. Wow. Got a few things. I was involved with that ceremony we had with the Army Corps about signing that harbor deepening agreement, 600,000 for that. And that was a real good meeting we had in here. Also, I was contacted about an oil company, Heller Oil, that wanted to come in and take the oil, 12,000 gallons of oil off the LT5. So I'm waiting for the call back, and I'm going to refer them to Pat, and then we'll work out the details of that. But this is a pretty big company. It has all the liabilities and the ability to come in with tankers and do that project. So I'm hoping to get that done before the winter sets in, just to reduce our liability. We hadn't realized the port has a large liability for environmental cleanup in case something happens there. So we're going to try to mitigate that and a few other issues that we have going out there. Also, I was contacted by Brian Stratton the other day, and you know, Brian, I don't know if he's still in charge of the Canal Corps New York, but he's pushing. I got his hat on here on the canal, and they're sponsoring Jen May, for instance, down here with the kayaking. For people who can call, they can go up on the canal for free, and it's paid for by this grant from the state, and then she gets paid for it, so it's a good deal. But they're going to a conference in Buffalo, and they asked for any sponsorship. They want to take and deal with a bakery right here across from the port.
Oh, William.
Yeah, it's a newer one there, and they're
Yeah,
gonna make
the
these
Turkish
little,
one.
they're making these little cupcakes apparently that look like balsters. And they want to put the, Port of Oswego, and then we're going to be recognized, and it was basically about $600 that it was going to cost. And I talked to Bill about it, and he's not opposed to it, but I think it's a good idea. Bill?
No, I mean, I went to school with Brian, so I'll be very short. Yeah, I think that anytime we get our vestige out there, I prefer they take some of these with them, but $500-600 is well within our limit to spend. I don't think I need the board's approval, but I think your consensus would be appreciated, and then I can go ahead and have a check drafted. So if no one has objections to that, I
know.
okay, so I'll then do that. So just have Brian do the whole
No,
thing.
I'll let him know.
I'll have a check.
And lastly, we talked about the water line issue, and now last was the museum. I talked to Mercedes and about their plans for a building, moving the museum, which they're all in favor of what we've been saying, and they've presented they're going for a grant to the county, and a substantial grant. And they're waiting for that approval to get this money. They've got the DLR group they're working with that is going to eventually bring that proposal to board for what they want to build and what we would have to bond and all that. But we're working with them, and it's all positive, it's all good stuff. I made it clear that sooner than later, just because that building is sucking a lot of our income out. I guess we got 100,000 bill or so looking at for a roof next year.
No, when we did a repair, Pat, the repair cost is what, 38-ish?
Yeah, we just did the temporary repair.
Yeah. We
So-
did a temporary repair on it, so,
But
for winter.
Yes.
you get the picture, it's, it needs help. So, other than that, I have nothing more. And so we'll go down to item 9, committee report, executive committee. I have nothing to report on with the executive committee.
I have no report out of audit and
Audit and
finance.
finance, governance.
Yes, the governance committee met this afternoon, and we had 4 issues to talk about. The comp time issue, retirement insurance for spouses, Zoom meeting, that is tele-meeting policies for the board, and finally lobbying policies. All of these policies were discussed this afternoon and will be brought to your attention at the next meeting in October for our discussion and hopefully for your approval.
Wonderful. Thanks, Shannon. And
Good.
planning and development committee, Raja.
Yes, a little bit. We didn't have a meeting in the past month. Our last meeting was August 8th, probably before our previous board meeting. Let's see, Amanda Baker from Yacht Club contacted me about dockage, and I think she worked that out with you, Bill? No? Was the dockage over by Fish and Wildlife?
They've been bringing that discussion up, and there's really no way right now that we can physically get docks from the land out to what they're trying to do.
Okay, yeah, she didn't contact me back about that, so I guess she heard,
No,
talked
it's-
to you or somebody, and was
Be
satisfied
honest,
with that.
be honest with you, that whole issue is kind of, we put a big grant in for basically mooring balls in that
Yeah.
area. So, I mean, really, I don't know what the city is doing with what they're gonna do on that side, so it's kind of, we're moving ahead at building our
Yeah.
marina, which will provide some access to the water for them. That's where we're focusing, so I mean.
Okay, well, I guess that's not the whole thing. And yeah, I was in touch with Mercedes about the museum and the grant with the DLR folks a while ago. I haven't been in touch with her for 3 weeks, but just looking through the correspondence, yeah, she said that they had submitted their grant with the county on August 29th.
And
So
I
good.
gave everyone the letter, we submitted the letter, and she's thanked
Yeah.
us for submitting it.
So we're all good with that.
Okay, thanks,
That's all I
Raja.
got.
There's no old business. I see none. Item 11, we're on new business. I have a motion 0919-2206, resolution to accept the PFRAC grant PIN 3935.77.301, in the amount of $300,000 for the POA harbor deepening study.
So moved.
Second.
Well, we should discuss this, but I think we have.
Did you get a second?
Well, I want to make sure there's nobody else has any
Yeah.
questions here.
This money, already we have a contract awaiting approval, final approval, but this is one of those procedures where we want, because of audit purposes, we want to make sure the board was aware you're accepting free money. So this
It's
is.
a good thing.
This is 300,000, this is the grant that we had written for the harbor deepening, our match, and the state gave us 300,000, so it's just a procedural thing.
Okay, we have a motion on the table?
So moved.
Second, John and Diane.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, you did.
Yeah, the motion, go ahead.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion passes. And now we go into motion 0919-2207. This is a resolution to accept the transfer of PFRAP grant, DR 36882, And this is SA number 2, PIN 3935-59-301 in the amount of $361,284 to the Port Authority Boating Center, Global Dry Dock and Shipyard Project.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
It's just moving by the transfer.
Okay, what this is you remember when we were doing the Lehigh dock, we had cost overruns. I negotiated with the state to take and get another 500,000, $500,000 to finish that project. Project finished under budget and on time. We had $361,284 left in a contract with the state under that PFRAP. I negotiated, remember, was it a month and a half ago? We were short at Global. What I did is I asked them to rescope it over to the Global Dry Dock.
Yeah.
They agreed. And now this is one of those accounting things, as you know, I need to have the board authorize it.
That's it.
Yeah, thank you.
Do it one time.
Well, I know, I would get this question from you at audit season, so I'm gonna try to I wanna make sure we get everything right in line.
Yep. I think you have it all in favor still?
Did I get a motion yet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, all in favor?
I seconded it.
Okay.
Aye. Right, I waited for the second to have my,
Opposed? None.
I can't give it back.
and the regular Robert Rules of Order guy.
All right, you guys are so quick, I'm not even catching the, I'll move it. Here we go, motion 09-19-2208, this is a resolution authorizing the executive director to execute the Andersons lease agreement extension. This is Exhibit E.
You good with terms and conditions?
Yes, it went through, this was a negotiation I had with Anderson. As you guys all realize, I like to negotiate and get increases put in there. They originally asked for 5 years, I wanted 2 because costs go up in 2. This was vetted by our attorneys, so it's all legal, in the sense it's legal. And I, quite frankly, what we're doing, I would like to continue that relationship with Anderson. And I think this is good for us because we have an extension, but also it's good for us is we can both agree in 2 years to look at costs and make appropriate adjustments.
So moved.
Second.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None, motion passes. Yeah, I mean, it's good to get these agreements. The way things are changing so much, 5 years right now is like 10 years. Used to-
No, yeah.
It just, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, 2, I really, they wanted 5, I really said, okay, fine, I know we'll do it every 2 years, agree.
You're in a very inflationary environment.
Yep. And this is for consideration of the Lysander Hockey Association fundraising request, Exhibit E.
This is brought to us, it's up to you guys. I would suggest if you do it at the 150 mark. It is that great thing, hockey, that we are into a lot here.
I think getting out to the rural communities with some stuff is a good thing.
It might be not a bad idea to have in your budget a line item for how much you can donate to local.
Yeah, it's good, it's a good, that's a good suggestion, and we're going to do it this year. Because in the last couple of years, we didn't have the money. Now we're got the money, and I think,
But once organizations find out you're a donor,
I know.
Yeah,
All
that's why you need to cap it, so that if somebody comes to you late in the season, you can say, sorry, not this year, and they don't.
Small amounts I don't think are a problem, big amounts I think are.
Right.
so.
I'd assign it all to the planning committee.
You did what?
I'd assign it all to the planning committee.
That's a good idea. Then I get off the, by the way, there's one thing I will be bringing up, when we get the hockey, for the, Lakers, I would like to, redo that, banner
Yeah.
plaque we have there, because I had last year, so many people had commented they saw that,
Yeah.
and, I was a Laker, I wasn't a hockey player, but I couldn't understand going around on the ice and falling down all the time. But it's big in Oswego. I mean, it's either racing or it's hockey. So I think the hockey thing at college is good. So I will be, it's about 2,000 a year. So I will be coming before you probably, what, next month is when you think they redo those signs?
Find out.
Well, hockey starts next month.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they'll be getting something on that.
Maybe skipping.
So I think, whatever we decide on that, 150 or whatever.
I've never been.
Okay.
Does the board have any objections to 150 for licensing?
No.
Okay.
I'll move it.
All right, we have a motion here to move the executive session again to discuss the labor negotiations. I didn't see that before, we brought it in the last.
That will be very, very
Hey,
quick.
Fran,
Wait a second, did we make a
Oh,
motion
right, yeah.
and move that?
For which one?
The lot bystander, we're not gonna move.
No,
There's
the
no
lobby.
motion added, this is just for a consideration.
Oh,
Oh,
consideration.
okay.
So,
But she's right, we do need a motion for the attorney member.
I got that down here. When we come out of executive session next time, I got a motion here for our attorney. So, I need a motion to move to executive
So
session.
moved.
Second?
Fran, for under new business, under Mr. Cordino came to you and asked you about us flying the flag.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Yeah, why was it?
I was gonna bring that in, I forgot in my report up here.
Bring it up.
Wait a minute,
Ukrainian
we gotta-
flag?
Before we go into executive session, yeah, Robert came up to me and said that our city attorney asked that the port couldn't fly,
Could or could not?
pardon,
Could or could not?
if we could
Oh.
fly the Ukrainian flag. And we had already discussed this before, we all said sure, that we were gonna put our own Ukrainian flag, we bought our own Ukrainian flag.
Which we had when the Movavi was out there. We had the Ukrainian flag on the Movavi.
So,
We took it down for cranes.
that was a no-brainer, I said sure, and so he brought me over a flag, and I brought it over here to Bill, and we put it up under the.
Now, is that because it's so high you can see it?
You can see it all the way outside the city.
Yeah, well,
But
yeah.
they're coming down, what, Wednesday?
Wednesday or Thursday, they'll be.
Yeah, I mean, it's not as big as our flag, the big
Too much
American
wind?
flag, but it's a
No,
good
the
sized
cranes are being
flag.
disassembled
Oh.
to be sent home for the season.
Oh, okay.
Hoping that next year we get the windmill project again, and they'll be
Our friends, our
Okay.
permanent friends here. They'll come in just like the birds in spring, you know,
Who are
leave
you
in the
talking
fall.
about? Who?
Huh?
Who's gonna come here?
Birds.
birds.
Okay.
So
let's,
joke.
Let's end our executive session.
Yes, let's go to
We've
executive
been here
session.
too long.
I was.
Secret
Back
motion.
into regular
Six
session.
52.
Secret
Okay.
motion.
Okay, so we have one motion here that, it's gonna be 09192211, and that is to allow the port's attorney to enter into negotiations with the city attorney for mutual land easements on our water line and our means of egress out of the port. Do I have a motion? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. And the last motion on the table, 091122, to adjourn the regular meeting.
So moved.
Thanks, Tom. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Are we off?